So everyone had fun at the reception last night? Great. Anybody go to the after party? Oh, wow, great. Hope the current students showed you a good time.
It's not enough enthusiasm.
Apparently not.
Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and start recording. All right, welcome. For those of you who didn't meet me last night, my name is Beth Hoke-Levin. I'm the Director of Academic Affairs for the Masters of Engineering Program and the Fung Institute for Engineering Leadership. Welcome. We're really happy to have you here on campus, hopefully to show you all the great benefits of MEng and coming to Berkeley in hopes that you will enroll in the fall. Our professional master's degree combines coursework in engineering and leadership with a technical innovation concentration. As a student in this program, you will start and go through the whole program as a tightly knit cohort. You'll develop strong professional networks you can rely on throughout your career. We have advising students that are advising services that are tailored specifically for our Masters of Engineering program students and are focused on professional development and career resources. In all aspects of your study, you're going to learn from your peers, technology leaders, company and industry sponsors, further expand your career network. Some of you may have seen this before. This is our T model of engineering leadership that illustrates the depth of the technical concentration that you'll be studying and the breadth of the management and leadership curriculum. Now, the special sauce is what ties it all together. That's your Capstone project. So that's real-world experiential learning opportunity, and the students will talk about that on our panel today, which helps you integrate everything together. This is an illustration of the core engineering leadership curriculum. We recruit industry leaders and business school faculty to teach you these modules. So for example, we have a KPMG, ex-KPMG partner. She teaches you accounting. We have several Harvard Business School grads. We have several business school, Haas Business School professors. We have a person, the marketing professor was the person who marketed Microsoft Word back in the day. So you're learning from industry experts. You'll also be joined in these core leadership courses with the Masters of Translational Medicine students, who are joint students in our bioengineering and UCSF programs, and they really add another perspective and diversity to your experience. Also, as a Masters of Engineering student and a dual citizen of both the Fung Institute and your department, you have support and guidance from a large and diverse group of professionals. So everybody from the faculty in your department and the Fung Institute to the leadership curriculum faculty, as well as staff in your departments and career counselors. So a large group invested in your success in the program. I also want to highlight some of the specific resources that we have here at the Fung Institute. We provide targeted resources to help you with academics, career, social events, and also a dedicated study space. So many of you were at the reception and you saw our beautiful Shattuck offices that you have access to 24/7. And we also have the Blum Hall, which is just right behind us on Hearst Avenue as well. We also provide you with the chance to practice your leadership skills outside of the classroom. So you met yesterday, and a couple of them are on the panel today, our current representatives. We also have the opportunity for you to be a graduation speaker, to win paper prizes, and to receive an intellectual contribution award as voted on by your peers at the end of the year. All right, so that's it for my introduction. So I wanted to spend the most time in this hour on our student experience panel. So I'm going to welcome Lee Desser. She is our career and academic advisor, and she's going to moderate the student panel for you this morning. Lee? Hello. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for coming. Like Beth said, my name is Lee Desser. I'm an academic and career advisor here for the Master of Engineering program within the Fung Institute. And I'm really pleased to welcome our student panelists today for our student experience panel. My far left is Anwar, then Rendell and Joe, and I'll allow our students to introduce themselves. So if you don't mind, please introduce yourself, maybe say where you went to undergrad, your current department, and the name of your capstone project.
Hello everyone, my name is Anwar Alzarini. I am one of the bioengineering students here in this Master of Engineering program. I also did my undergrad here at Berkeley in bioengineering as well. My capstone project is 3D printed implants for precision HDR brachytherapy for cancer delivery. Or treatment, sorry, not cancer delivery, you don't want to do that. You want to treat the cancer, deliver the cancer. It's probably the longest title out of all the projects, so I get jumbled all the time. But.
All right, hi everyone. My name is Rendell. I'm from Germany, and that's also where I did my undergrad. So I did it in industrial engineering and business management. And so in between, I worked a little bit in the aviation industry back home in Europe. And I'm currently studying industrial engineering operations research with my capstone project about health solution assessment in India.
Thank you.
I'm Joseph Bauer. I'm from University of Illinois undergrad. I did mechanical engineering there and came here and decided nuclear was the way to go. So kind of switched majors a little bit. In between undergrad and grad, I served in the United States Army as a captain in explosive ordnance disposal for about 4 years. Okay. My capstone project is grid integrated nuclear power.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing. So I know a lot of our students or prospective students here today are, thinking about different graduate school programs. And so my next question is, why did you decide to come to UC Berkeley?
So the reason I chose Berkeley again was because, the experience, I have to say, is very different as a graduate student than it is as an undergrad, just for the record, if there's any UC Berkeley students in the audience right now. But Berkeley, because mainly I do have a startup project going on, and I knew that the network here in Berkeley was really vast, and there's a lot of opportunities for entrepreneurship and making connections and talking to people, connecting with VCs, etc. And it was just really close to Silicon Valley, and so I thought it was kind of a no-brainer to just stay in the area and see what opportunities I could possibly get out here. And given it's one of the top schools, and the professors are great, and the people are great, and so that was a given.
So I worked in, as I said, a little bit in aviation before, and I was always in between this mixture of engineering and business. And so while working with engineers and with business people, I like this combination of having both. And so the Master of Engineering program, as Beth just explained, has pretty much both of these components. And so I was searching for a program which has both of it and was also very short at a top school. And that's, filtering it down, that came pretty much to Berkeley. And when I came here, I just realized that it's such a great school with all this weather on top, plus on top. And so, but basically I chose it because of this unique, kind of combination of both of these attributes. And given the fact that that's so it's great to be here in the Bay Area to kind of experience this entrepreneurial spirit here and get a total different experience to what I had before coming from a big company. That was just a big plus on top.
I really like the weather in California. So I'll start there. You can't beat it, yeah. Also, it's as I've mentioned, it's a big name, and there's a lot of benefit to that. You have the big name attracts big name professors, the really power players in industry who've come here to teach you, and they really care, and they're not, I don't think, benefiting as teachers, but they really love teaching, and they want you to succeed. I think that may be true other places also, but I think it's especially true here.
And I think I don't know how it is in other departments, but in industrial engineering, it's just cooler if the guy who invented the theory teaches about it than just somebody teaching about some other theory.
Thank you so much. So just to reiterate what some of our students say, I think a lot of the reasons why students choose Berkeley is because it's not only a great school, but there's tons of opportunities in science and technology in the Bay Area. And then within our program specifically, I think the Capstone project is really unique and a big selling point for our program. And then the weather doesn't hurt either. So there's a lot of, really great aspects to UC Berkeley and to the MEng program. All right, so maybe I'll start with Joe this time. Would you please share a highlight or something about your Capstone project?
So I've had a lot of management experience in my life. I've kind of been blessed with that, but it's kind of been a polarized experience up till getting here. In my past experience in the military, when you're in charge, and people listen to you and they do what you say. And when you're not in charge, you do what they say. It's kind of the way it works. There's not really a lot of discussion about it. And Beth will tell you that I've struggled with this a little bit through the year. But here you really have to learn how to collaborate. And the Capstone, I have 3 other people in my team, and I didn't start the year as the team leader. And it took a lot to learn how to work in that team on a technical project. It's very different, and I think that myself and my team members, who have all kind of taken different roles through the year and kind of switched off, have definitely learned how to collaborate and how to work together, and how to build a strong team that's able to work toward a unified vision. I think that's kind of the highlight of the Capstone for me.
Rendell?
I think I would build on that actually too. Okay, our project is from, we are 5 people and we're from 4 countries, I think. So I never worked in such a diverse group before, and I think I never truly understood the concept of why diversity is a very good thing. I always know, it's great, but I never really understood it. And so with this project, that was just that brought it it was pretty difficult in the beginning to work together because we all kind of spoke the same language of English, but meant different things with what we were saying. And through some ups and downs, we really got together. And even though our project of this health solution assessment changed a little bit over time, we kind of, as a group, we've formed so well together. And as we said, we had some role changes in between as well. And I think that's kind of the beauty of the project, that you have more of that you learn to collaborate with that many different people in a very quick time, and whatever happens around you, you're still gonna be able to challenge to face the challenge. And so that was, I think, the greatest thing of the Capstone so far.
So to build off of what Joe and Randall were saying, I completely agree. No matter how many projects you've been in, when you work with industry or big name professors, and this is a real project, it's very different. The pressure is real. And learning how to collaborate under those circumstances, learning how to communicate, especially when you're not going to necessarily agree all the time, it's very much a growing and a learning experience. And kind of what Rendell said, your roles do switch because the Capstone teams are fairly small and sometimes there's a lot to do. And so sometimes you find yourself tackling problems that you're not necessarily familiar with or you don't know about. And so it's such a learning, growing experience, and all the projects are ridiculously cool. And so no matter what the struggles are, it's you really want to find a solution, not only to graduate, but, to find a real world, a solution to a real world problem. And that's, it's very rewarding and very relevant in that sense. But also, aside from the Capstone projects, I wanted to add that a lot of the leadership courses that we take, so project management, product development, negotiations, which is a fantastic class. You guys will love organizational behavior. You can really take a lot from those classes and apply them towards your projects, and you might not even realize it until down the line where you're like, oh, actually, I did this, and I learned it from either Lee Fleming or Cass or all these professors that you guys are going to meet. And so you take away a lot, subconsciously even, that you won't even realize till later, and so it's pretty good.
Excellent. So just to summarize, it seems like, there's a lot of really great aspects to the Capstone project, one of which is that students learn collaboration skills. They also, learn to work in cross-disciplinary teams, which is really valuable when you're working. So we have a new panelist. I might welcome Justino, and I'll give him a minute to introduce himself, where he went to undergrad, his current department, and the name of his capstone project.
Hey everyone, so I'm Justino Kalangi. I'm an international student here. So I did my undergrad here also. After doing my undergrad, I worked for a year in Texas, and then I came back for my master's degree. So right now I'm doing mechanical engineering in a focus of concentration, or my concentration is control system development. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me.
Excellent. What's the name of your capstone project?
My capstone project, I'm working on a tensegrity robot with NASA. So it's a new novel robotic concept that they're trying to develop, trying to send it to space pretty much, and I'm working on the control systems of making that robot work.
Wow, that sounds really cool. Do you have a particular highlight of your capstone project?
Yeah, so I'm not sure about other capstone projects. Every capstone project is really different, which is really cool about this program. But for my project specifically, NASA has already been working on this project for maybe 2 years, so we're stepping in at a really good place. They have some initial designs available already, and we're coming in and helping them develop those designs, and we're actually doing a lot of manufacturing. So they have some concept proofs already, and we're actually building the robot and then going to be testing it. So we're at a really exciting stage at the project.
Very nice, thank you. So I know a lot of you had questions about housing. How do students find housing? Where do they live on or around campus? And do you need a car? So I wanted to sort of open this up to our current students. How did you find housing, and where are you living around campus? And do you think having a car is necessary?
So personally, like I said, I did my undergrad here. So I already knew some people from my undergrad studies, so I just found housing with them. But a lot of current students, I think what happened was before the program actually started, there was a Facebook group that popped up, and a lot of people were chatting on the Facebook group telling, oh, I'm going to find housing, who wants to be roommates? And I really encourage you guys to have NMH roommates, because you'll be doing capstone projects together, you'll be taking classes together. So they probably talked about it already, but this program, people connections, is really huge. And I think being in the same project, being in the same roof pretty much is a great advantage to have. So a lot of people look through the Facebook group, and also Craigslist is a good resource. Just be careful, I guess.
Yeah, use good judgment. Rendell, what about you? How did you find housing?
So first of all, I think a car is not really necessary here. Like the public transportation is pretty good. Even though I'm German, so I love cars. I really adore them, and I miss my car. But you really don't need it here. It works pretty well. So I contacted a student when I think in May or June to ask him for help for housing, and he referred me to the International House. So that's where I spent my first semester, and maybe you guys have heard of it. It's kind of famous a little bit. So it's 600, yeah, well, it's 600 students from 80 nations or so, and it's pretty much a big dorm, and next to campus. So it's quite expensive, but I can definitely recommend it for one semester. It's a lot of fun. I think this year's program has 15 students in the International House or so, so it's kind of like living together. And so there's a lot of stuff going on, as you can imagine, from 600 young people from undergrad, grad, PhDs, all one mixed together. So that's totally to recommend. Even though I moved out after one semester, because it's very, very, very social. And after some time, you don't want to explain that, hey, I'm from Germany and I studied this and that every single meal. So after one semester, I decided that's enough. I'm good for that. And so I moved South Campus. And I'm now sharing with a guy from Singapore, so that's also a great different experience. And the south of campus is super beautiful. It's a very, very nice area, lots of cafes and restaurants, and yeah, only I think 10 minutes to go by feet or take the bus. So both great experiences. Can both recommend. Actually, I think having the two of them, that would be still my favorite. Like, do both.
Jill, what about you? Do you think you need a car, and how did you find housing?
I'll start with the housing question, I guess. I sent an email to the nuclear engineering department administrator, and she just kind of mass mailed it out to all the other students that were coming in, and I ended up housing with 2 PhD students in nuclear. I highly recommend south side of campus. North side is maybe a little bit cheaper, but also it's really hilly, and I am really lazy. So I recommend south side, and it's more fun. There's better restaurants, and there's more people there. It's a little bit more livelier. In terms of a car, you definitely don't need one. I have one, and I love it, and I'm not from Germany, but I also drive a lot. Yeah, we can all hope, right? Like, dream. Having a car, especially in this part of California, is nice. Not so much for local travel, but you can drive up to Tahoe on a weekend and like go skiing or snowboarding. You can drive over to Muir Woods and go hiking. There's a beach over on the far side of SF that's really nice to just drive to. There's 100,000 things to do in SF, and it makes it a little easier if you have a car. You're more likely to go do it. Public transit can reach a lot of them, but at least knowing someone with a car is probably really beneficial.
Yeah, definitely. I live in Berkeley, and I feel like I can pretty much get around everywhere I need to go in Berkeley without a car. There's good bus lines, and then there's also the Bay Area Rapid Transportation, the BART system, which is very good. All right, so let's see, Rendell. What's one piece of advice you wish you knew before you came to the program?
That's a tough one.
Or something that you think prospective students should be aware of?
So one piece of advice, I think I would have loved to know more about what's going on around the program as well. So not only the program itself offers tremendous opportunities, and it's a lot of fun. And as we said, we just form a big group of the good friends people, but also around the program, there is a lot of stuff going on, like different competitions or different conferences and speeches and speaker series and whatsoever. And I don't know, you can also take courses in different departments if you feel that your schedule isn't full enough. And so maybe I should have informed myself a little more about that up front so that I could have enjoyed it a little more while being here. Even though, but on the fly, it also worked out pretty well. But maybe that's the thing I should have spent more time on.
Yeah, students are very busy in our program. It's very intensive, fast-paced, and so there's no shortage of events. I'm sure you guys can attest to. Is there any piece of advice you'd like to share with students?
Yeah, this didn't happen to me personally, but I've seen other people or other Capstone groups. So it's mainly focusing on the Capstone. My advice would be to not just apply to the capstone that you're interested in, but after you apply, you may want to talk to the professor and ask about the teammates also, because you're essentially going to be meeting the team the entire year, like almost on a daily basis, just to work on the capstone project. So you definitely want to look for someone who is compatible with. So like for me, it wasn't a problem for me, but when I was picking a capstone, I literally just went for the title, and I didn't really think about the team at all. Now that I think back, I think if I considered the team also, I might have made some different decisions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And onward, is there anything, any piece of advice you'd like to share with students?
I think something that I would do differently is look more into the MBA classes before my first semester started, because I found out about all of these awesome MBA classes that other students were taking, and then they offer different classes during different semesters. And plus, for me, maybe this might happen to some bioengineers, but my second semester was a lot busier than my first semester. And so if you're interested in taking any business classes, I would say look into those now, because I think for us, is it like a first come, first serve sort of? Yeah, it's the luck of the draw. And so just put your name under as many as you'd like, and hopefully you'll get into one of them. But those classes are, from what I hear, they're pretty awesome.
Very nice. Thank you. So, Anwar, I know that you're involved in some entrepreneurial activities, and I think a lot of our prospective students are also interested in those kinds of opportunities. So, would you mind sharing with us some resources on campus or how students can get involved if they're interested in entrepreneurship?
So, in terms of startups or entrepreneurship, there's a lot of that going on here in Berkeley. Whether you have your own idea or you want to jump onto someone else's ship, you can totally do that. Something that I personally got involved in was, so on the same floor as the MEng, we have CET, which is the Center for Entrepreneurial Technologies. Yes, and it's Venture Lab, essentially, in short, and that's something that we had applied to and we gained access to, and it's somewhat of like an accelerator where they provide you with mentors, they provide you with office space, and just a lot of resources in order to help you move forward with your startup idea. Another thing, this might be mainly for the biotech folk, there's also the QB3 facilities, which are shared between here, UCSF, and UC Santa Cruz, I believe. They're another incubator, and they have this awesome program called Startup in a Box. And so you apply. If you get it, you get this giant package of just endless resources, including like lawyers, patent attorneys, they write up all your NDAs, all your paperwork for your employment if you want to hire people on. Also mentors, there's funding opportunities. You get a lot of connections to VCs. And if you want to write a grant and you need to go to a workshop, instead of paying $800 per person, you pay $100 per person. And so they really facilitate the process of, I have this startup, I have this project, what do I do next? Because I have no clue. And that was essentially me and my partner when we started. Lots of competitions as well, and you'd be surprised how competitions will help you make connections. For example, Berkeley Big Ideas, I strongly encourage everyone, if you have the slightest idea of something cool to do, apply for Big Ideas. The people that you meet, whether it's other students or, faculty or directors, and there's a lot of VCs that show up to these events as well, and just people with like endless connections. That's a really great opportunity as well. I think there are other competitions you can apply to. Just keep your eyes and ears open, talk to people, meet people, mingle, mingle, mingle. I can't even emphasize how much that's really changed. It's something that they don't really teach you as an undergrad, especially here at Berkeley, because we're very focused on our work. But there's a whole different world with, just talk to people, and the connections that you make, the information that you gain is just, it's really eye-opening. So
Nice.
Kind of how we did it. So.
Thank you so much. Maybe for the other student panelists, are there opportunities to connect with employers or venture capitalists, or what kind of activities or events have you seen?
In terms of entrepreneurship?
In entrepreneurship, or say a lot of students are interested in working in the United States. Are there opportunities to meet with employers?
I guess. So there's a lot of career fairs, and there's a lot of different avenues for approaching employers. I think that between Julie and Lee, they put a significant amount of effort into providing both you with the confidence and the tools to know what to say when you're actually talking to a prospective employer. But also they put a lot of effort into designing events with prospective employers, and also just social events where you can meet with either MBA students, JDs, other branches of the university, as well as I think there's a pretty significant advantage in the way that a lot of the colloquium style speakers, like people that come in to talk kind of openly, you get a lot of perspective into what's current and what employers are looking for. And I think maybe you gain that a little bit subconsciously, but there's a lot of high level people and companies that come in and talk about what they're doing, and I think that provides a lot of benefit also.
Maybe to link both perspectives a little bit. So I thought I knew what I wanted to do after I graduate, when I started the program. But turns out I think even before the program started, we have had every single day you could go to a different company, and like, or company would come here to talk about what they're doing and that they want to hire you. And so that was even before the program kind of started. So that was great to see all the opportunities which you have. So I was thought, maybe entrepreneurship. We're now here in the Bay Area, go for it. So I call it my little mini internship when I did a business model competition, which was pretty much thinking of a mobility future idea and forming the entire business plan around it and compete with that against other ideas. So that was my little internship in entrepreneurship, which was great. It was a lot of fun, and I figured out it's not for me. And so, but still, there was so many other things going on. Like Joe said, the career fairs are great to just mingle to everybody who you can essentially meet. And so I figured, well, okay, then entrepreneurship is not my thing, so maybe let's go for a consulting. That sounds very great to me. And turns out that was when I put more time in it with the help of Julie and Lee and all the other resources which are on campus, that's more my style. So actually, what I want to say is you have a ton of opportunities when you're here of where you want to go, and usually people are in the beginning like, wow, mind explosion, because there's so many opportunities to do. But I felt like taken by the hand and trying different stuff out in order to find, okay, wow, that's kind of cool. That's, I think, where I really want to go to. And so, yeah, that's what I'm going to do in summer then. Let's see.
Very nice.
I kind of want to just mention this briefly, though. Julie and Lee are here as great resources, and they're very helpful. But they will not like hold your hand into the office and get you a job. You still have to do a lot of work, and you should have an idea of what you want to do. They provide a lot of benefit, but you still have to know what you want to. That's really the end of it. You have to have an idea of where you're wanting to end up.
We should develop.
Julie and I definitely...
It changes.
Sorry. We definitely provide resources. We always encourage students to start their job search early, and Julie will actually be talking more about this at the Career Services panel. So, Joe, I know as a social chair, you plan a lot of events for students. Would you mind sharing what kind of events are organized?
So in our year, we've had a lot of different events, and we've had even bigger plans that some of them didn't all work out. So it really is what the class makes of it and how involved the class wants to be. We do about monthly, we have social hour, happy hour, and we go out to a bar in Berkeley and have a couple of drinks, just sit down and talk with everyone, kind of outside of the classroom. We've also held a relatively large party that I probably can't go into too great a detail here on camera, but it was a lot of fun. We were pretty lucky in venue, and we had great turnout. Most people in the program really want to have a active social life, and if any of you are interested in being social chair, it's a real treat to be able to help organize and put everything together for the program. But we've also tried to do things like ski trips, like little just get-togethers where people would meet and have lunch and stuff. And there's been a little less turnout for that, but if you had a class that wanted to do that, it would be quite simple to set something like that up. It's whatever you make it.
Nice. For any of the other student panelists.
Oh, yeah. And we did tailgates last year for all the football games, which we did awful on football. Like we were like the worst team in the entire.
But you still had fun, right?
It was a blast.
For any of the other student panelists, are there opportunities to be social with other students? What kind of events have you taken part in?
Absolutely. I think the main difference between undergrad and grad school is the social aspect. You have all of these amazing, brilliant people that come from all over the world, and everyone's super social and wants to get to know each other. Joe and Malik have done a fantastic job with their events. Everything's really fun. And I'm sure you guys will all, after you know each other, grow to love each other and really want to hang out. And so back to what we were saying about the car situation. For those of you that have cars, those are the main, I think, social outings that I've mainly been involved in, where you kind of gather just a few cars, gather a bunch of people, and you just go out and explore some random part of California. Those I think I find the most fun. And then just even here, every Thursday night, you'll find people at Free House or any of the local bars playing pool, darts, whatever it may be. There's just a lot of that. It's fairly easy. Just find a group of people you like to spend time with, and the possibilities are endless out here in the Bay Area.
I also think in the beginning, this program has like 2 weeks of boot camp, so it's kind of gathering together before school starts, so you don't really have an opportunity to get to know other people rather than your program people. So you're really stuck together, and that's great because you form these kind of relationships which you need in this very short program. And after that, it kind of comes from like you don't really need to do that much to hang out with anybody. It comes naturally because you are so intensely together for these 2 weeks to get to know each other. So, and then after that, I would say it's what everybody wants to do. So some people might prefer studying more, some people might want to go out more, and I mean, we're here in an area which is just great for traveling. So there's Vegas around the corner, and the Highway 1, and I mean, you can pretty much fly everywhere. At Yosemite, and I don't know how many trips were done within the last couple of months, but so it's really what you're up to, what you want to see, and you'll find people who are curious to see that too and to explore it.
On the Yosemite thing, sorry, one of my friends almost died falling in a river, so be careful up there. But it is a lot of fun in Yosemite. we went. We got like 6 inches of snow last week when we were there, so.
We always encourage safety. But like Joe said, and all of our student panelists said, it's, California is such an amazing state, and there's lots of opportunities to go on, weekend trips and stuff like that, in addition to connect with students during the week.
Yeah, to add on a little, if you guys are into sports, so aside from all the social events, if you guys are into sports, I know within the Mba program, we also joined the IM sports on campus. So there's a basketball team, there's a flag football team, I'm in a volleyball. So soccer. There's softball? Soccer. Oh, soccer. So, and then one of the guys in our program is actually in the triathlon team on campus. So there's definitely a lot of stuff going on here. And I don't know how musical all of you are, but we also have one of our students this year is in the Berkeley Symphony Orchestra. She's like one of the violinists.
Those are actually really fun.
And they're really cheap.
Yeah,
They're
very,
like
very
$5.
cheap. I mean, take your ID anywhere, essentially, you're going to get a discount for most things, but there's a lot to do on campus as well.
Nice, thank you so much. Let's see. I just have one more question, and then we'll open it up to the audience. And maybe we'll start with Justino. What is your favorite course or professor, and why?
My favorite course, so for the ME folks, my favorite course right now is vibrations, and not necessarily because the course material is really interesting, but the professor is really interesting. So this really blew my mind when I went to class the first day. When he got there, the first thing he said to everybody was to line up, and he started taking pictures of everybody. And then after an hour, he memorized everybody's names in the class. And it was an undergrad class, so there were probably maybe over 50 people, and he memorized everybody's name, and he was calling people in class that day already. So that blew my mind, like how good the professors are here. So his name is Benson Tung. If you guys have a chance, definitely check out his classes. He's really interesting. There are no midterms. What he does is he does mini quizzes every week. And then inside classes, every now and then he would be like, it's impossible for everybody to focus for an entire class. So what we're going to do is we're going to go watch a YouTube video right now. So in the middle of a class, he would be doing a lecture, and he would just throw down the chalk and go to his computer and throw up a YouTube video. So he's really interesting. What's that?
Of cats? Or?
No, of anything. Like he one day he could be like, oh, I'm in the mood of like maybe cars today. So he would pull up a Lamborghini and start talking about the specs, and he knows a lot of random stuff. And he's a barista himself, so he would throw up coffee stuff, and so a lot of things I don't really comprehend, but it's really cool.
Nice. Rendell, any favorite course or professor?
I think I like our engineering leadership course, especially the first semester in the boot camp most. So we had, Amo was talking about Professor Kass, and so he teaches negotiations and organizational behavior. And he besides also showing YouTube videos, but that's only a very small part, he really messes with your minds. So asks the class a question and everybody would answer it, and turns out that was all wrong. And so you learn in the beginning really that how people kind of behave with each other in negotiations or in a group work. And because he messes so much with your mind, it kind of sticks to it. And within the capstone, pretty much like Amor said, you figure it out. So I'm not sure if I can tell that, but one example was to bid on a $20 bill, and you would freak out if you knew how much people would pay for a $20 bill. But I'm not gonna tell it. Sorry.
Anwar, any thoughts?
I agree with Rendell. Cass is fantastic. His class is a lot of fun. It's very interesting. It's just different perspectives on things that you don't necessarily think about. But I guess another more technical would be Keith Alexander's new product development course, and it's in the chemical engineering department. I had been referred by a friend to take that class because my friend told me he's like an amazing professor, and he really is. He makes, new product development, which sounds boring, actually a lot of fun. And he's a very goofy guy. He laughs at his jokes all the time. And I would highly recommend that class for anyone, especially for the pharma biotech folk, because it's a chemical engineering course. That's kind of what his focus is, especially big pharmaceutical companies. But in general, it can be applied to any new product development.
Excellent, very nice. All right, now let's see, we have some time for questions, and so I'm going to open it up, and Julie will be walking around with a mic so that we can all hear you.
Hello. Can you guys hear me? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I have a question for Anwar. Mm-hmm. So you were talking about these MBA classes that you took or you're taking now, and you said that you wanted to know more beforehand what classes you should take and which one are good or not as good. Can you be a little bit more specific about that?
Yeah, sure. So Beth will send out the links as she had done before, but there's essentially a website you go to. They will give you a list of all the classes that you're eligible to take through MEng, because some classes are specific only to Haas students, and then there's others that are open. And then you basically just sign your name in, and it's the luck of the draw. They'll pick like a certain number of people randomly. But the thing is when I had realized this was an option, it was a little late, so I wasn't able to do it. So I would look into those classes now and do extensive research. I think there's a different outlet to look at those classes because Haas works a little differently. But if you email someone, they'll be able to send you the link. There's a lot, yeah. So just do more research than I had done because that's available for your first semester.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Excuse me. Okay, so I'm just curious, is it easy to, or is it possible to switch concentration once you enrolled into the program?
I'll take that one.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
That's a technical question. So what department are you in?
X.
Okay, so EECS, you are admitted to a specific technical concentration based on your skill set, and there are different faculty admissions committees for each concentration. Mm-hmm. So the answer is probably not, but you should check with the EECS department and with the faculty advisors for each concentration.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Okay, kind of a follow-up question here. Is it Adrian? Yeah, to Adrian's question. I've heard this is a rather intense year, and you're talking about additional courses you can take. What's an appropriate course load?
Well, I guess it depends on you. It's a very short program. It's 1 year. And for me personally, I was like, I'm going to take advantage of this and take all the classes that I want. This semester, I'm taking 18 units. I would not recommend it. Just because also it depends on the class types. So my first semester wasn't so research heavy in terms of like the types of classes were a lot more informative, and you either write a paper or take an exam, etc. This semester, there's a lot of projects, there's a lot of papers, there's a lot going on. In terms of the MBA courses, I think, Rendell, you've taken some.
Yeah,
I've
taken 4.
I don't know what the workload is like.
The workload is fine. I mean, I think the core curriculum is already an okay amount of workload, but I would definitely say, I mean, I took always 50% more courses than the minimum amount, and that works out fine, I would say. You just have to do a little bit for it.
I would heed warning that the undergraduate courses, or the classes that are a combination of undergrad and grad students, those are the ones that are very workload heavy. And so for the graduate courses, since they understand you guys have a lot going on, they were kind of a lot more laid back, and that would be the best opportunity to load up on additional courses that you're interested in. So that's just 2 cents.
I might add that certain courses are much more time intensive than other courses, and so it sort of depends on your concentration as well. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
So it's definitely intense. There's also other factors to consider if you're looking at additional courses, such as time spent on the job search versus time spent with additional courses. And so it kind of comes down to time management and how you want to allocate your time.
So
Other questions?
Thanks for taking the time to speak with us. So my question is essentially from that, how unheard of is it for a student to actually take courses outside of the technical courses requirements? So there's only like 4 classes, but what if you say, oh, I want to take, that class in controls, or oh, I want to take that class in vibrations, for example. Like, is that unheard of? Do students do that often, or?
Everyone does that.
Everyone.
Okay, so.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't take so many because you do have to carry out like the requirements for your own major. But in my case, I took that the product development class. It was a chemical engineering, bioengineering outside of the department. I took both the first portion and the second portion because I was just really interested. And you kind of, if you feel really passionately about taking a class, you'll make time for it. And these guys have done the same, like with MBA classes.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't clash with your core curriculum schedule, you're fine to do it. And I mean, I would totally recommend just taking like speaker series courses, because that's only 1 unit, and you only have to show up pretty much. So no homework, anything, and it's super interesting because you hear so many different opinions about everything. And so rather, I would recommend to take like additional 1 or 2 unit class, because it's not so much homework, and so you can time your schedule a little better.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, to add on to that, a lot of people do that, especially cross-department even. A lot of mechanical engineers or even bioengineers, they would want to take, for example, a CS class to increase their... that's definitely available even within the department. So you still have to take the 4 classes in order to graduate, but then on top of that, you can add on other classes. However, if one of those 4 classes don't work for you, you can ask for a petition always and see if you can maybe. So in my case, because I did my undergrad here, one of the grad classes I took as an undergrad already, so that was not available for me. But then other options were maybe I could go to an electrical engineering department to look for a controls class, and as long as my faculty advisor was okay with it and he would sign the petition, then it's okay. But normally, with your 4 classes, you can do whatever you want with the other classes.
Also, I would recommend for the additional classes, take them pass-fail if possible. just because, I mean, it's more you want to take the class for the information, you know what I mean? And if your workload just happens to go haywire, then you want to get good grades in the classes that you're required to take. So that's something you can easily do.
Or you can also switch it within the semester to pass-fail if you feel
It's
a good idea.
That's enough.
So this is like a continuous question. So how easy is it to enroll in other class? I mean, I'm a student at Cal also, so usually it's very hard to enroll into class, right? But from a master student's perspective, especially from MNG student's perspective, is it easy to enroll into, let's say, upper division undergraduate course or graduate level course?
I think it depends on the class type. So for most classes, they have like a certain set of seats open just for graduate students. And so I haven't necessarily had a problem. I just know for MBA classes, it's harder to get into those because there's a ton of people. It's not even necessarily like you're first on the wait list. It's just completely random. But for the most part, I at least haven't seen any problems with it. It's easier than undergrad, if that's what your question is. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But even for the MBA, I'm taking 4 MBA classes, so it's just it is possible. It's not totally. You just have to be in the right time spot when to sign for the wait list. then it works.
Hi, so I have a couple of questions. The first one is, I know that some of you are graduated from Berkeley, so I mean, it's probably really easy for you to transition into the Masters of Engineering program, but for the ones that didn't, how was the entire transition process from, whether from the industry or whatever, but just, you know, kind of coming into this intense classroom, like studying academic environment?
So I worked 4 years before, and so it was actually the first exam was really hard because it was like, oh, sitting down for 2 hours and concentrate. I'm not sure when I did that the last time, and so that was kind of hard. But as Beth pointed out, the support, the entire system around the program is really well organized. So kind of you even before the program started, we had workshops how to polish your resume, and so when you start with the boot camp, you don't really have time to think about, oh, I'm transitioning right now. It's like, oh, okay, class starts. All right, got it. Now attention to the lecturer. So it's not that you come here and they're like, oh, okay, where do I need to go? What next? It's pretty much, okay, you're here now. That's the next steps, and then you start studying. They made it really easy to transition, except for this one exam that was not so good.
Okay, I also have just a quick other question. So as people who are currently enrolled in a Master of Engineering program at Berkeley, how has that impacted your job search? Or how has it, I guess, helped you to belong in this program? Like, how has that helped you with your job search, finding a job, getting a job, you know, all of that kind of stuff?
I don't think that very many people have had, there are certainly exceptions, especially some international students. I don't think very many people have had trouble getting jobs. I don't know everyone's situation, but I would say that the Cal name carries a lot of weight, and it, in my experience, gets you in the door almost 100% of the time. So if you're good in interviews, it makes it fairly easy. That's my experience.
Yeah.
And to add on to that, like they were talking about, there are a lot of the entire package is there. Julie and Lee are here for your career services. So when Joe said when you're good at interviews, it literally means when you meet with Julie and Lee a lot. So definitely make use of those opportunities. They're always open for you, and it definitely increases your market value, I want to say.
And I would say in terms of college, I mean, the big names, they come here to you to recruit you here on campus. So that's definitely an advantage. And I'm very sure that this brand name was a big factor to get me the interview. And then, of course, you have to perform.
One thing to mention that Julie will talk more about later is that you'll have access to us, career counselors within the department, but you'll also have full access to all of the main career centers, programs, and events, including on-campus recruiting. Other questions? Yes.
Sorry. I do have two quick questions. The first one is, I know this program is very short. It's just 1 year program, and it's just open. It doesn't have too many years like. It's just opened like 3 years ago, right? I guess. So what do you think about this program comparing with a regular MBA program? I mean, what do you think? What's the target people who is more suitable to go in this program rather than regular MBA in-house? And I know I'm not sure how well this program is recognized in the industry. There's not too many alumni. Do they really think that do you really get a lot of help in terms of their job research? My second question is, on the campus, do we have a lot of shared resources with the Haas Business School and MBA? I know some big companies, consulting companies, only go into the Haas Business School, and can we get access to those kind of resources? Yeah.
So I guess I'll take this one. I'll start off with your second question. We do have access. We've been to a lot of mixers with the Haas students and making connections with them, whether it's So there's mixers, there's also clubs and stuff that you are open to. There's a lot of resources at Haas in general that graduate students have access to. And then there are even other resources where it's like campus-wide, whether it's clubs, organizations, etc. But in terms of the mixers, those are pretty common and they come often, and we're invited for the most part, like very often. Those are great to go to make connections and such, and then find out more information. And then for your first question, you were asking about what makes this program like better than an MBA or the difference. So it would definitely be the integration of the engineering with the business. And so I feel, I'm not an MBA student, but I feel if you did an MBA, it would be very business oriented and you just have the general overview of business in general, whereas in this program, it's very specific to you're engineering something, you want to bring it to market, how do you do that? What are all the business, product development, project management, factors that are involved, etc. And so I would say it's more for people that are in engineering and they want to be leaders within industry in engineering, so not necessarily researchers. It's pretty much a terminal program. I feel like the majority of students here, they end off here. If they do continue, they'll go off and do an MBA just to get more in-depth business exposure. But for the most part, it's, I want to be a manager at like a biotech company, and how do I do that? I can be here, I can continue to learn the engineering stuff and just know how to integrate it with all of those business ideas, disciplines, whatever it may be.
And thank you so much for your excellent questions. We're actually going to be hosting a career services panel this afternoon at 1:15, and we can go more in depth about career services. So we have time for one last question.
Okay, quick question. We got an email about some summer school classes. I was wondering, is that something people do or that you recommend?
Summer classes.
I think
that's new for this year. So, Berkeley has always had summer sessions, and I certainly encourage you to, sorry, I just skipped through all of the slides here. So I encourage you to apply and come if you want to, or just sign up. Anyone can do it. What's new for this year is my encouragement, if you're interested in doing our area of emphasis in computational analytics, we have the IOR 190C course, the data science course, in summer sessions D, so I think it starts in mid-July. So none of the current students here had that opportunity, so that's something new. It's great if you do want to get a head start on the campus experience. There are not a lot of other engineering graduate programs during the summer, so that's a great opportunity to take other classes that you just may be interested in addition to that computational analytics class. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And that's separate registrations through the summer school program.
Well, thank you so much. We're out of time, but I want to give a big handful to our lovely student panelists.
Thank you, panelists. Great. So we're actually going to go into welcome, so you guys can just exit the stage subtly if you can. And we'll take a little break after the dean's welcome. All right, so first I'd like to welcome the person that will introduce the dean. Many of you have already met Professor Lee Fleming. He's a faculty member in the Industrial Engineering and Operations Research Department, and he's also our faculty director of the Coleman Fung Institute for Engineering Leadership. He is one of the core faculty for your engineering leadership courses. So you'll see him in the boot camp in both fall and spring, teaching things like entrepreneurship and ethics and R&D management. And his research involves big data. He's currently using big data techniques to study innovation, entrepreneurship, knowledge flow, and science policy. Lee?
Great to see everybody again. I talked with about a half of you this morning in the case discussion we had at IDEO. That was really good. Had a lot of fun with that. On the last question, Shankar was pushing me to actually spend a little time. I'm a good person to chat with about the difference between an MBA and this degree. I came out of an engineering school, that junior university across the bay, and then I spent 13 years at Harvard Business School, and so I've seen both sides of the degrees. And it's a longer conversation, but I think the thing that's motivated me to come back to an engineering school is that a lot of MBA programs are no longer training and teaching the technology managers. They're no longer teaching operations and manufacturing managers. And Haas is a little different, unusual in that respect, but most of the big programs now don't, the people going into those programs do not go out and become engineering managers and engineering leaders. They're going into finance. So in 2008 at Harvard, 70% of the class was going into consulting or finance. 5% was going to technology, and technology included entrepreneurship, included manufacturing, and engineering management. So it's the career path used to be you'd get your undergraduate degree in engineering and then do an MBA and then become an engineering leader. That's not a typical career path anymore. The other thing I'd add about this as well is this degree is an enabling degree. After this degree, you can have a fantastic career. You can go back to get an MBA. We don't give you enough business in this degree where you're going to be, it's going to obsolete or invalidate you for an MBA. You get just enough, and you get an exposure to the Harvard case method, and you get me to write a recommendation for you saying that you understand and you're really effective in the Harvard case classroom, because that's the classroom we teach here in our case discussions. And then finally, there's also a doctorate as well in engineering. We've had a lot of successful candidates go off in that direction as well. So I can chat at great length about this if you pull me aside later on. So much more importantly, I have the great pleasure of being able to introduce Dean Sastry. So as I tell my 6 and 10-year-olds, Dean Sastry is a big dude. He's an amazing engineer. He's a National Academy of Engineering member. He's written hundreds of papers, and he's an acknowledged worldwide expert in cybersecurity and network infrastructure. He got his PhD here at Cal. He is an eminent engineering leader in all aspects of the description. So, without further ado, Dean Sastry.
Hello, everybody, and I'm glad to welcome you here. I have to say this is the first time I've been in this newly refurbished auditorium, so I'm glad it's worked out well. We are really delighted to have you with us, and hope you're finding your visit day to be engaging and enjoyable so far. Let me also sort of chime in on that last question that was asked to the panel. This question that was asked, I wasn't looking back when somebody asked, Julie was holding the mic, was about why is the MEng different from an MBA? This is a part of the country which really lives on technology entrepreneurship, and actually technology entrepreneurship is the little engine that has pulled certainly this country and probably large parts of Asia out of the doldrums of 2008 onwards. So we found it, we were really delighted to have Lee come from the Harvard Business School with an especial passion for really bringing to bear the methods of technology entrepreneurship, which is exemplified in that T model that you saw. It's a deep dive into technology with the rudiments of business united by this Capstone project. It's a very unique kind of degree. And yes, this is one of the early cohorts, but as you heard from one of the panelists, the brand name, the Berkeley brand name, is really a very powerful brand name just because the program is new. It doesn't mean that there aren't, that there isn't the instant recognition of a degree from engineering. Not to mention that we really have pretty amicable connections with Haas. And actually, when Beth introduced Lee, one of the things she didn't say is that he's also a professor at Haas. So there is really pretty close ties across with the Haas Business School. Let me just say a few words. So first of all, let me congratulate you on having received an offer of admission from us for this 1-year accelerated Master of Engineering program. This really is a great program. Our engineering advisory board had been encouraging us to do that for 15 years, but it took us 15 years to launch the program. That's about as frequently as we launch new programs here in the college. The one before that was a bioengineering, PhD in bioengineering, But once we launched this, we actually launched the Masters in Translational Medicine, which is also a part of the Fung Institute. Do we have MTM folks in the audience? Not yet. So there's a joint program, a joint Masters in Translational Medicine, which is along the lines of the MEng, which is actually, you get 2 universities to sign off on it, Berkeley and UCSF, which you'll see those students in your cohort if you decide to come, which I very much hope you do. Just to tell you, how select a group you are, we received over 1,300 applications, and we plan to enroll a class of approximately 170. So, to have really made it to a place where, you're here at visit day is already a considerable achievement on your part, and I'd like to applaud you. So congratulations for having made it in here. No, I got into Berkeley in the old days when it wasn't quite as hard. I wonder if I'd make it now. On the screen behind me, we have some facts about the class of 2015. By the way, we really want to get you out in a year because I do think that a lot of you come with a huge amount of energy and you're ready to change the world. So we don't want to be an impediment, or we don't want to slow you down, which is partly why we're going to really push you pretty hard to get out in a year. I think this is not it's not like an MS. There's a lot of attention. Lee, all the other faculty, Don, who you're going to see next, they all, Beth, Julie, Lee, the other Lee, they all spend a lot of time working with you, in addition, of course, to the departments who bring in sort of their own level of advising. Okay, so in terms of average incoming, GPA is 3.7. 60% of you are international. I was an international student, too, when I got here. And 33% women, 32%, I guess, is the 1/3. It's not, oh, there it is. It's not quite 1/3, huh? It's 27%, almost 1/3. But these numbers don't tell the entire story. The story that includes why you're here to study at Berkeley, a top-ranked institution close to the Silicon Valley ecosystem, these are all the reasons I think you're here, and you will have ample opportunity to take advantage of this while you're here. So Berkeley is not only close to Silicon Valley, we are very much a Pacific Rim university. We look out at Asia, a large number of international contacts. Of course, there are contacts with Europe and other parts of the world, Latin America as well. And so you'll be immersed in this rich and diverse culture in Berkeley. It really is the crossroads of the world, and you will learn and grow in ways that you never thought possible. I came to school in the 70s, and I was ready for Berkeley in the 70s, was a very different place. But today, I can assure you, it's a place of tremendous entrepreneurship. By the way, some of those institutions in the 70s are still there. And, if you walk down Telegraph Avenue, you'll get some of the feel for that local Berkeley 70s culture as well. So coming back to the program, we really have built this program to fast-track you into influential positions with the levels of authority and compensation that these entail. When we put this program together in the Fung Institute, there's very much a sense that we wanted you to train you, to educate you, to be really the CXOs, The X could be TO, like COO, CTO, CEO, and all of those positions. And that involves a combination of in-depth technology knowledge as well as the management skills that are needed to do this. So we expect you to be in sought-after Silicon Valley jobs and other high-tech hubs, and you'll hear about the high-touch career options, which Beth mentioned this afternoon. Okay, in terms of, these are people from the College of Engineering Advisory Board. There's a Fung Institute Advisory Board. We didn't put up quotes on the Fung Institute Advisory Board because you thought that'd be too rigged, because the Fung Institute Advisory Board loves this program. But here are, this year's commencement speaker is Sanjay Mehrotra. Sanjay Mehrotra is the president and CEO of SanDisk. He not only loves this program. He sends people from this program to come and participate in the Institute. Some of the capstones, I think, are SanDisk capstones. Stephanie DeMarco, she's the CEO of Advent Software. She's a Haas grad, by the way. So she's somebody who says, they need talented engineers. So engineers is about problem solving, and so that sort of problem solving gene, in addition to management, is really what people seek. It's and Lee and Don will really sort of push you to develop that. And the last one is Steve Wozniak. Steve, of course, one of the co-founders of Apple, and everybody's heard of Steve Jobs, but Steve Wozniak was the other piece, and he dropped out of Berkeley. He was sort of 4 units short of his bachelor's because he had another calling, and then afterwards, we persuaded him to come back so that he could march in commencement, and he re-enrolled under the pseudonym of Rocky Raccoon. And so, when he came to the stage, he was the commencement speaker as Steve Wozniak. But when the degrees were awarded, he marched across the stage as Rocky Raccoon to receive his degree. And he's been somebody that pushed us, for a long time. He said, Berkeley's always had great bachelors and great PhDs. Why not have a professional master's degree program? So these leaders have told us that they are really hungry for people who understand the innovation process and have the people skills to lead interdisciplinary teams. So those are the kinds of people skills that you need. Diverse teams, multidisciplinary teams, people from many cultures, people from many backgrounds, having different faces. These are strengths. These are strengths to every modern company. And that's what people want. And that's why the Fung Institute, and that's why Lee and Beth and Julie and Don, they all keep you together as a cohort so that you can understand what it is to work with all these different faces. All of these leaders love these capstone projects because they provide them with sort of the secret sauce to really understand this collaborative process. And the last thing that they like, and which I think is really a hallmark of Berkeley, is this commitment to being sort of citizen engineers. In the college, we call this serving society, the public good. And, wherever you go in Berkeley, there is an insistence on not only doing things which are commercially expedient, which are good for the economy, but also to solve the big problems of society. And that's something that you'll see baked in to everything that you do here. And that's uniquely Berkeley, to be able to have a sense of solving big problems for society in addition to being able to sort of maximize your own good. So by the time you finish this program, I think you'll have a good idea of the things it takes to magnify the impact of technology and society on the global economy. For instance, the Fung Institute is co-located in Blum Hall with the Blum Center for Developing Economies, whose thesis is use of technology and business models to lift people out of poverty. That, again, is a blend of social entrepreneurship of the kind that you'll be taught. So, this is all by way of a plug. Of course, this is our day to convince you to come to Berkeley. You've done your part, and you've convinced us that we should have you here. So, I hope you will enjoy the rest of the day and get a sense of the Berkeley engineering community. And I welcome you all here, and mercifully, we didn't have much rain this winter, but we've got the right weather for you this week. So welcome again.
Thank you, Dean Sastry. So at this point, we're actually going to take a very short stretch and refreshment break before you hear about capstone projects from Dr. Wroblewski. So please go ahead and take a stretch, get something to drink. The restrooms are out to your left, just up a little bit. And please come back at exactly 5 minutes, so 20 after 11. I'll see you back at 11:20. Thanks.